Hello and welcome back. My name is Erin Ferguson, and this week's video is going to be a tutorial about how to create cohesive, harmonious color palettes for your artwork. I am going to be showing a cool technique that I've found super useful, and I am going to be showing it digitally, but I will explain how it can be used with traditional media as well, so how it can be converted over to traditional media like watercolor or oils or gouache or whatever it is you like to work in. But before I jump into that, I just wanted to let those of you know who follow me for my game artwork, rest assured that project is still ongoing. I have been working on basically the same thing for the past several weeks. I've been doing portraits for the dialogue boxes, so when our characters speak, their portrait will come up next to the dialogue box, and that is taking a while because I've got lots of characters to do and lots of expressions to do. So that is ongoing, and I will do a check-in one of these weeks to show you what I've done. But I figured you didn't want a whole bunch of videos in a row about the same thing, so I figured I would do some tutorials to put some useful knowledge out there into the world. So I'm going to be showing you a really easy technique that I've used to make cohesive color palettes for my artwork, and actually I also used it when I came up with the color palette for our game. But before I jump into that, I want to mention something really quick, that value and color are not the same thing. And I mentioned this, for some of you may know this already, but I'm pretty sure that I didn't until I got a college degree doing this. So I figured I would mention it for those of you who may be just starting out or aren't familiar with a lot of the terminology. But value is how light or dark something is, whereas color is, the pigment, red, yellow, green, what have you. Value describes how light or dark something is. And actually, between value and color, value is more important. And I'm going to demonstrate that really quick right here. So as you can see, I've got this drawing pulled up. This was a sketch I did this week that I just thought looked cool, so I ended up finishing it. So for those of you who believe that I can't draw characters with noses, here is proof otherwise. See? She's got a nose. Anyway, so I did this sketch, and it's just, it's very simple. It's of this, fabulous lady being fabulous. But as you can see, there's no color, and still the subject matter reads perfectly well. You don't need color to be able to make out what's going on here. We've got this lady with an updo and a feather boa strutting her stuff, and she is completely black and white, but you can still tell what's going on. It doesn't matter. And what a lot of people don't realize is if you can read an image in black and white, then it really doesn't matter what color it is. You can use unusual colors, you can use more typical colors, it doesn't matter. And just to prove that, I'm going to go ahead and turn off this black and white layer here and show you the colors that I actually used. So obviously these are not natural colors. It's basically a monochromatic image, just pink and like this darker, pink and darker pink, pink, purple, pink, and it's also got a little bit of shot of blue in here because I kind of like to have a strong, contrasting color in a lot of my images. But as you can see, these are not typical colors. Most people do not have purple skin and purple hair, but you can still tell exactly what the subject matter is, even though the colors I've chosen are unusual. So I just wanted to make that clear really quick before we start, because it should give you some confidence when you are designing your images that if you can get the values right, then your colors should be fine. But that being said, let's go ahead and open up a blank document here, and I will show you my little trick that I use to get color palettes that are fun and interesting and harmonious and cohesive. Okay, so when you first start a piece, you may have an idea of what kind of colors you want to use, and you may not. In this case, I'm going to start basically with a random color palette. I think I'm going to choose like 5 colors, and when I say random, I really mean random. I am just going to randomly select a color from our color, what is this? I guess this isn't a wheel, whatever this color spread is. Let's see, so we've got a purple, we've got a blue, we've got a green. Actually, I'm not doing too bad. This isn't too shabby. We got another blue. Ooh, that one's a warmer blue. And we've got a yellow. Okay, so that's not too bad to start with. So I'm going to be using these 5 colors here to show you my favorite technique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with all of these colors on one layer, and above it I'm going to add another layer on top, and I'm going to set that layer mode here to color, and I'm going to turn the opacity way down. I'm going to start it at, let's do 20% to start. So I'm going to start by choosing one of these colors that I want to be basically my harmonizing shade. So I can either pick this purple, one of these blues, the green, or the yellow, but I want to pick one of these colors that is essentially going to tie all of these colors together. So let's choose, because I've already got, I'm going to choose a green. I'm going to choose the green to be my harmonizing color. So I've got that green selected. I used my eyedropper tool to pick that green, and on this color layer here, I am going to just draw a layer of that green over these other colors. Basically what this does is it tints all of these colors slightly green. Now you can adjust the opacity here as much as you want. If you want just a very slight tint, you could start at like 20%. If you want to have more, you could move the slider up higher. If you go all the way to 100, basically you have this same shade of green, but with different value. So I am going to, I don't know, I think I'm going to put it about, I want a little bit, let's put it like 30% maybe. See how those colors, how they harmonize so much better than they did before? So this is before, and this is after adding that green there. So, and now, because I've got, you know, that green added to all of these colors, if I want to, I can create another layer here, and I can start choosing different values of each of these colors. So using my color picker tool here, let's say I choose this purple. Over here up on our sliders, this very bottom slider controls value, so whether you go really dark or really light. And I can move it up lighter, so I can have, like a lighter version of that purple, or a really dark version of, whoa, that's really dark, or a darker version of that purple. And same thing like with this blue. I really like this blue in particular. We can have like darker versions of that blue. And as you can see, we're starting to get a nice range of colors, all with that same greenish tone. Now that we've got a little palette here, I can always go back and add or subtract colors if I feel like something's not working. So if I feel like, you know, I don't really feel like we need this other blue, I feel like that's, you know, superfluous, I could go and subtract that. Or if I feel like, you know, I really want an accent color that's really different, you know, from the other colors. Let's say, you know, I've got these nice blues and greens and purples. Maybe I want like a bright orange. I could go stick that in there and see how I like it. If I feel like it's too different, well, I can always add another color layer right here. Set it to like 30% or 20%, something less than maybe some of the others, and I can add another green on top of it. If I feel like that's too much, you know, if it's taking away from that pop, I can set it down to maybe like 10%. So once I get a color palette that I really like, I can go ahead and just add them to my swatches over here. All you have to do is select the color and then click on one of these boxes. And now that color is saved right here in my swatches, so I can use it anytime. And I can create, you know, whole color palettes here that I can use then to, you know, make an image. So if you're not working digitally, there's also ways to replicate this process with traditional media. The first way is to basically just mix. So if you were to start out with these, you know, 4 or 5 or whatever colors of paint, you could choose, again, a color, your unifying color, so kind of like we chose our green here. And then you would take a little bit of that green and just mix it into each of these wells. You would only need a tiny bit, but even doing just a little bit, it would unify all of these colors and essentially give you this result right here. Another thing you can also do, and when that technique, by the way, will work with just about anything. It'll work with watercolors, oils, gouache, acrylic, it doesn't really matter. And with some mediums, you can also do something called glazing, which is basically kind of what we're doing here, where you paint down your colors, and then, so I'll paint down, you know, I'll paint down my colors, and then I add on the top of them, once they're dry, you can go back in with a really watered down version of your unified color, or if you're working in oils, it would be like an oiled down version, just a really thin, watery version, and you paint a layer of that over the top of it. And basically you'll get the same result either way. So you can use this technique with a traditional paint as well as digital paint. The advantage of digital, of course, is that you can save that palette and you can use it, over and over and over again if you like it. With paint, of course, you're going to have to remix it, every time you start running low on paint. But it still works really well, and I've used it especially with watercolor. I'll either, glaze, or I will mix in, colors into other colors to get them nice and unified. So I hope you have found this tutorial useful. Let me know in the comments if you've enjoyed it. I will be back again next week with another video. So until then, enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you later.